I'm Mike Hughes. I'm the CTO of LINX, the exchange in London. I'll give you a quick overview of what we've been up to recently. That's what I'm intending on covering today. So I'll start off just with the vitals. No exchange presentation is complete. It's complete without graphs that go up and to the right, allegedly. Got about 600 gig of traffic. It peaks over and above that occasionally, and then it'll drop away, and then it'll come back again. It just depends how the internet's feeling that day. Around 340 connected members now, and just under 3 terabits of attached edge ports, 2.86 terabits, but yeah, say just under 3. I mean, 250 gigs neither here nor there, or even 150 gigs neither here nor there when you talk about the size of traffic that we're doing these days. And during Q1 2010, we're still growing strongly. Just in the first 3 months, we put up 30 new 10 gig ports, and 16 new members joined. There's a little bit of churn and a little bit of consolidation, but we're still getting an overall net growth, and we're actually ahead of our target as well in the first 3 months of the year that we were expecting to grow with. Predominant amount of ports these days is 10 gig ports. As you can see from the top graph, the light blue is 10 gig ports, and these continue to grow, whilst 1 gig and 100 meg ports are fairly static. We do still sell 100 meg ports if anybody wants them, just in case. Yeah. One issue that we did have was some issues with reliability of the Brocade platform at the back end of last year, and a continuation into the start of this year. The immediate issues have all been pretty much resolved now. And we've been largely stable since. Anything that we've seen since has not been intimately related to what happened before Christmas. We've worked with the guys at Brocade quite exhaustively to produce a root cause analysis that's identified the key issues that caused the original problem, and it seems to be a combination of a software and a hardware failure, effectively, one kicking off the other at the same time. So we've identified the key issues with that. Pretty much anything that we've sent back has gone through fairly rigorous failure analysis procedure as well when it's gone back, so that we can actually work out what happened, what can we do to prevent it again, what can Brocade do to prevent things like that happening again, and also any corrective actions that either party needs to take. So we're just in the middle of washing up the remaining items from that now. But I felt I should bring that up because some of the people in this room have obviously felt some of the pain from that, and I shouldn't sort of stand there and deny it with a clear conscience, because it did happen. In terms of co-location, a lot of you, if you visit Telehouse, you'll have seen that there's a new building sprung up very, very quickly, Telehouse West building. We can serve LINX ports from the North building initially, and we can do that pretty much now if you need it. And the idea is that there'll be a full LINX POP in that building by the end of the year anyway. It's a really big building. You could conceivably have upwards of 40 large members just in one of their sort of TFM spaces in there. It's quite significant in terms of power. Equinix just had their LD5 launch yesterday, so that's another campus type development that's going on in Slough. So it's just down the road from the existing LD4 site that we've already got a POP in. So we've actually already got switches in LD4, and we'll be able to serve LD5 out of the LD4 POP. That's certainly what's planned, because that's how Equinix are building that. It's a very interconnected site. And some of you are aware that some of the other partners are expanding as well. So Interaction is looking at expanding its facilities in Brick Lane, and again, Telecity Group are also looking at expanding some of their facilities too. So very similar to the story that Lisa was saying at AMSEX. We're in 10 sites right now. Telehouse West will make it 11, and it looks like we're going to be bringing on probably another one, certainly Telehouse this year, possibly another one before the end of this year, and then another one in 2011. I shot myself in the foot by writing this slide saying Berg continues to be stable. We had an unexplained issue of RS1 exiting when we made a standard config change this morning, but otherwise it has continued to be stable. We have lots of root servers, and you should peer with all of them. Therefore, if one goes away, you're not affected by it. So if you're affected by the issue this morning, you aren't doing what you're supposed to be doing. It's generally survived exchange outages pretty well. So it's not needed any sort of manual massaging. It just everything comes back up and it converges very quickly. The exchange community is generally really sort of happy with how well Bird's working. And Tim from my team, who's here today, he presented some background research and performance data in some detail at UK North 15 back in Rochdale. And we'd only actually had Bird up and running for a couple of weeks at that point. And the real data has been that it is actually significantly more stable. And an interesting corollary is that Quagga, the two boxes that run Quagga, have actually also, knock on wood, been more stable as well since we've been running Bird. So I don't know whether that's a knock-on effect of just more stability in the routing system generally. Certainly we know that Quagga is very, very expensive in terms of processing withdrawals when a session goes down, which tends to cause this spiraling death syndrome that you possibly heard about before. So there's the ongoing activity in EuroIX that Lisa spoke about. Right now there's a focus on a version of Quagga that's been p-threaded, so things such as the session keeper lives and the CLI have been split off into threads so that these things can be looked at and interrogated without interfering with the main routing process. That's actually been funded out of EuroIX, and that's about to go into lab tests at multiple exchanges. We're certainly not in a position where we can deploy it anytime soon. In terms of where we are with the platform at the moment, still flat layer 2 platforms, no MPLS or anything at the LINX at the moment. And there's the two platforms, as you're aware, one based on Brocade, one on Extreme. About to go and perform a midlife upgrade to the MLX hardware, which will double the density of the system and provide much increased 10 gig port capacity. One thing we will be doing is not upgrading a whole chassis at once in terms of the line cards. We'll upgrade all the member interfaces to the new line cards, and they will use SFP+. We're going to keep the backbone ports for now as XFP so that we can continue to run with our WDM, our existing WDM XFPs for the time being. And the idea is that will then see us through to next year. Extreme platform, we're upgrading the core switches there to BD20K. That's Extreme sort of new long life switch. That's a new development from them with quite a long lived. It's got a very long lived roadmap, and in terms of 40 and 100 gig readiness, it's going to be capable of doing that in the course of time. So otherwise, the architecture will stay fairly much the same during 2010, just a case of increasing capacity where it's required. And what we're starting to do now is perform a review so that we can look at adding 40 and 100 gig support, look at support for the emerging optimal forwarding options, such as Trill, R-Bridge that Elisa mentioned. The RFC is now complete. It was actually waiting for a new TLV in ISIS to be defined. So that's happened. So Trill R-Bridge has now got its RFC approved. And effectively what it is it's just another shim. And it's just a new TLV in ISIS. And if you've got anything that can do MPLS right now and put shims on things, then it shouldn't be unreasonable if it's not burned into ASIC and it's actually done in microcode and FPGA. It shouldn't be unreasonable to therefore say that you can do Trill headers and you can do the new ISIS TLV. So hopefully we can look at some of the existing platforms we've got, possibly being able to support Trill in the future. So what we're trying to do now is look at the architecture from sort of 2011 through to 2015, 2016, and actually design an architecture that's going to have something like a good sort of 5-year lifespan from next year, and incorporate as much of the current technology that's available as we can when we implement it, and whatever else it looks like is coming down the line. And if Trill and SPB is the IEEE version, shortest path bridging. It's kind of like Trill, but not like Trill. And of course, we've also got sort of MPLS, VPLS available if we don't like either of those options as well. The other thing is we're hiring. We have one network engineer vacancy currently open, and that's an immediate start. We're still growing, and so there'll be more vacancies to come. We're probably going to be growing the engineering team a little bit more during the course of the year, just to take on the amount of workload that we've got. So do keep your eyes on the website. I also think that there'll be some, for the regulatory inclined people, there may be some positions on Malcolm's team working in the public affairs and regulatory arena as well during the course of the year. We actually moved into a new office in Peterborough, so we were actually at our office in Geneva House that Keith put us into best part of 15 years ago. And we actually moved, and we're in a nice new bigger office now. That houses most of our back office functions, such as our internal IT and the sales team, marketing team, accounts, and all those kind of things that are not sort of frontline network engineering in London. It's got lots of space for growth. We've not got the whole building, just the second floor. We're not that extravagant. You know, we are a small non-profit. We don't have a big warehouse like Vixie has in Charter, though, so I think that's probably a relief in some ways. You can keep up with us on social networking, and we tend to put out information of when our meetings are, if we've got any jobs, new members joining, that sort of thing is all put out on social networking. Very, very easy to find. And those are the URLs. And do you have any questions? And if there are no questions, I shall ask Andy to come up and do the Lonat presentation.